Hi everyone, and welcome back to Creative Chelsea. I have had so much fun creating with the new products from the January through June mini catalog from Stampin' Up. And so today I just wanted to share this really fun card that I've come up with using some of the products from the Timeless Tropical suite. And one of the things I'm focusing on are the dies that come in the suite, and they're called In the Tropics. And they're just some really fun, unique dies. And one of them is this pineapple die. And one of my problems I have with just dies that aren't cutting out stamps is just the flatness of the die or the paper, and it just doesn't give a lot of depth to the image. And so I kind of started playing around with this die because it's one that I really wanted to use, and I didn't want to not play with it or use it because it's a really fun image. And so I started playing with it and came up with a really fun way to add that depth to your die cutouts. And so I'm going to show you that today. And I'm also using some of the paper from the Timeless Tropical Designers, or this is called Tropical Oasis Designer Series Paper. And so it's really a lot of those fun things from this suite. Okay, so to start with, we're going to grab our pineapple dies and the little 3 flower die that comes in this set. These other big ones cut out the images, these 4 or 5 different images that come with the stamp set. So you'll definitely want to get both of these together, but today we're just going to focus on the dies. So we've got the pineapple base, and we're going to be cutting that in the Daffodil Delight cardstock. And then we're also going to cut out the leaves in Old Olive cardstock. And then we've got our flowers, and we're going to cut that in Melon Mambo. So we're going to take these to the Big Shot and cut them out. Okay, so I've got my die cutouts, and I'm going to grab some scrap paper. And this is just going to help keep the color off my work surface. And we're going to grab some alcohol dyes. So you can see how the difference, if you can see the difference between the flat colors or the ones that have a little bit of depth, right? So we're going to start with the leaves because they're pretty simple. They're just going to use the light and the dark Old Olive, and we're just going to color right on top of this Old Olive cardstock. And I'm just going to add dark to there's some lines in here, and I'm just going to add some dark color to those lines. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of dark in like a V shape, kind of down where I can see the leaves. Just kind of at the base, just to kind of give a little bit of shadow at the base of each of those leaves. Okay. So it doesn't look too great yet because I haven't blended them with the light. So you're now going to grab your light Old Olive, and you're just going to start blending those colors together. Okay. All right, so now we've got some depth, and just give this a minute to dry. You're going to see it lighten up quite a bit once it dries a little bit. So the next thing is we're going to do the body of the pineapple. Now it's kind of confusing as to which way it goes. And so my little thing is that I love pineapple, and so I want to create a little heart with this cutout shape. So I don't know if you can tell, but those to me look like little hearts. And so because I love them, I want it to look like hearts. and not frowny faces. Okay, that's just the way I like it to go. If you want it to go the other way, I mean, of course, you're welcome to do that. So I'm going to start with the green, and if you kind of bring a pineapple to mind, they've got some green and brown and yellow all, all around the fruit of the pineapple. So I'm just going to go ahead and add some green, and I'm just going to do that here at the little tips. So on every little tip, I'm going to just add a dab or two of green. And this is the light old olive blend marker that I'm using. So it's the same one I used on the top. Okay, great. Now I'm also going to add some crumb cake, and this is the dark. And I'm just going to add it kind of in the same area. I'm just going to do kind of like a little circle arch at the top of that green, just to kind of give it some different colors. You could switch these colors. You could do brown at the bottom, green on the top, but I don't think it matters too much where you place them, just that you're adding, some different colors to give it the depth. Next, I'm going to take the light daffodil, and we're just going to blend these colors together. So just go in there and work those colors together so that they're not so stark. Okay, so there you go. So you can see that we've got a lot of different colors in there now, and it has more depth, and it looks a little bit more like a real pineapple would. Okay, so the last thing before we add these to our cards, we want to just bring these little punched out leaves up a little bit. So I'm just using my fingernails and kind of pulling them out and curling them up slightly. And you can do the same to these other edged, these little, just to give it some texture and to help it pop out from your card a little bit. Pull those leaves. Okay. So on our melon mambo flowers, I'm taking my cherry cobbler light, and you can really use any red color. We're just adding a splash of red right here in the center of these flowers. And we're actually not going to do a lot of blending for them. We're just going to let them be. Okay, I did pull out my dark Daffodil Delight, and if you wanted to, you could kind of come in here and just kind of give it a little bit of a border and some shadows kind of in some of these areas, just to kind of give it a little bit more color and depth. Okay, so I put some shadows at the top, a little bit on the right side. So now what we need to do is we're gonna cut out some crushed curry, and this is gonna be that background piece. And so I need to take this, I'm actually gonna take my cutout, and I'm gonna grab a pen or pencil. Just grab this pen that's close to me, and I'm just outlining my pineapple. Okay, then I'm going to take my paper snips, and I'm just going to cut this out. And now I'm going to go on the inside of this line, and that is so that I don't have to worry about seeing a little edge of crushed curry on the outside of my pineapple. So I'm just cutting right along that edge, but on the inside. Okay. Then we're going to add these two together. You can see that works pretty well. Before I do this, I do want to add a little bit of that shadow that I've created. I'm going to use some of the light crumb cake and place that, you know, where I kind of think some shadows would be. And I'm going to use my light, was this light crumb cake? No, dark. And I'm going to use my light Daffodil Delight and just kind of blend that a little bit so I don't see quite a strong line. You can also use your dark Daffodil Delight to kind of blend those colors together as well. Okay. All right, so you can see that when those come together, we get some more depth in that pineapple as well. I'm just going to blend this a little bit more. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and glue this on. I've got some liquid glue, and I'm just going to put a dab of liquid glue just randomly on the back side of this pineapple die. Just enough that it stays. Make sure to line up where you kind of have those, the shadows. You don't want to have your shadows be in the wrong spot. There we go. Okay, so we've got our pineapple and it is ready to go on our card. So let's grab the other pieces of paper. So I've got a Crumb Cake cardstock we're going to use for the card base. And I have some 5 strips of the brown side of the Tropical Oasis DSP. And these strips are 1 inch by 4 inches. And like I said, I have 5 of them. So we're going to add those down. And then I'm going to use some of this beautiful pattern paper that's in the Tropical Oasis as well. And it's just this blue pool party. It's got this really pretty floral pattern on the back. And we're going to cut that out with one of the stitched nested label dies. And this is the largest die from that set. So I'm going to go ahead and take this to the Big Shot and be right back. All right, so I've cut that out. And I'm actually going to work on this first because we do wrap some twine around it. So let's go ahead and add our pineapple. And we're just going to add this to the base of this label, just so that we can barely see that cute stitching and it's right in the center. Next, let's add our leaves. And I'm just going to add a couple drops of liquid adhesive. I still want some of that 3-dimensional aspect or quality to these leaves, and so I'm not going to add too much glue. And I like the leaves to be on top of my pineapple base. You could have them be below or underneath if you wanted. Isn't that so cute? I just love those colors together. So perfect. All right, so let's go ahead and get our twine, and we're going to do 18 inches of twine. So that's right about there. Cut that. And we're just wrapping it around a couple times. Leave about 4 inches on that right side, and then wrap, wrap, wrap. And then you can tie a bow over on this side. And I always tie, when I use twine, I always just tie an extra knot, like a knot, so that I don't have to worry about my twine coming apart when I do my bow. So I'm going to bring it up just slightly so I can have it be, so it's going to be right below my greeting. And then I'm going to tie that bow. Make it the right size that I want. Oops. And then tighten it up. And then if you want, you can trim the edges. This one came out a little bigger than my original card, and that's okay. I like different sizes. And then let's go ahead and add these things to our card. So we've got our 5 strips. And I'm just going to start adding them with some glue. You could use snail if you wanted. And you just want to put them at an angle. And I'm just going to try to get this card to lay flat with a little more scoring. So this one's next at a different angle. There's no rhyme or reason, just kind of make sure you just want to make sure you fill up this card front with the strips. So don't leave too much space on one side or the other. Let's see. And some can have a little more space between them. There we go. Okay. Great. So this is going to get added with some dimensionals. And that's just to kind of let it pop out a little bit more, to give it some focus. And that just gets centered on your card. Okay, and one of the last things we need to do is stamp our greeting. And for this one, I wanted to do a birthday greeting, and I'm using this greeting from this Timeless Tropical stamp set, and it's May Your Birthday Be Memorable. There, sorry, we weren't focusing. Okay, are we focusing? There we go. And I'm using Early Espresso. So I've just got a piece of Whisper White cardstock, and I'm just going to stamp this in the center. And then I'm going to use one of the smaller dies from the Stitch Nested Label dies to cut this out. And this is the third smallest die. Okay, so I'm going to run that through my Big Shot. Okay, so I'm going to place this here, and I want a dimensional on the left, and then I'm going to place some glue on the right. So let me find my dimensionals on the left, as far to the left as I can, and then some glue. And that's just going to sit over the pineapple. Just make sure everything is even. Okay. And then last, we're going to add our flowers. And I'm going to actually use glue dots for this, just because these little flowers are tiny, and I think the glue dots just do a better job of making it easier to apply them. The flowers, I mean. So I'm just going to put a couple glue dots on every flower. I love this pickup tool. Okay, and then let's go ahead, remove that backing. And I'm going to place one right here at the bottom of my greeting, and then another one. Place this one up here, but underneath, a little bit underneath the blue Pool Party label. And then this last little one, I'm going to put, so this one has some glue dot that kind of pulls out on the side, so just kind of tuck those in so you don't see them. And then this is just going to go slightly under the greeting on the left. Okay, so that card has come together really nicely, and I just love all the depth we were able to achieve with the stamping blends and the Big Shot dies. I hope you enjoyed learning this fun technique with me today and that you give it a try. Please subscribe, like, and share. Visit creativechelsea.com for a free tutorial of this project and to purchase the supplies needed. Have a creative day. Bye!